Last week you saw us do this.
Look at that.
Left-hand side of the racetrack.
Shortly followed by this.
It blew up. Oh boy.
And in today's video, we're going to show you all the carnage. For those that are new, this is our Junkyard VK56 project. We were inspired to get into this engine when we saw John Rogers making 2,000 horsepower with a factory block, but we approached it from the exact opposite end. We decided to do a sloppy mechanics inspired build where we used as many of the stock components as possible. The only upgrade to the engine was oil pump gears, just because that is a common failure point that we can fix pretty easily. And unfortunately, we found the limit. So let's investigate why it broke.
Well, the belly pan worked.
Yeah. What's that?
Ring.
Oh. Yeah, that's from me trying to clean the belly pan out.
Oh. Ooh.
Chunk of block. And another ring.
Yeah. Oh wow. There's lots of pieces in here.
Mm-hmm. Another ring. Oop, there's the wrist pin.
Well, that looks like it's usable.
Yeah. Put that on the salvage pile.
Was there stuff on the track?
I don't think so. Whew. It's not a heavy pin.
No, there should be a lot more piston here.
Yeah, it's probably up
What
on the
about
block.
a connecting rod?
I already pulled that out.
Okay. Got two different kinds of failures here. Ductile failure, and that almost looks like a fatigue. Like it broke a rod.
Well, I was thinking it stretched it and then finished it off. So maybe it stretched this part, this outer part.
Yeah, I think the piston went first. Dang, boy, when you kill him good.
Yeah. I learned from the best.
Hey, now. That's mean. Crazy woman. Working on the car. So, Paula, what you doing?
Taking the exhaust off.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so we can check the turbo.
Yeah.
We have to see if we hurt the turbo. How do you do that?
You gotta take that nut off.
Oh, another one.
Yeah, it's double nutted.
Oh.
Alright, we popped the downpipe off of it, and I think we're good. There's a few chunks down in there, but anything that got up in there was probably small enough that
Lives to fight another day.
yeah.
Alright.
Cool.
My poor engine is broken.
We'll build you a better one.
Poor Bob. His heart's broken.
Alright, so we popped the lower oil sump loose, and we got some stuff to show here. If we stick the camera up in here, and you look at rod number 8, that's the one that is going vertical in the camera frame, like pretty much dead center, you can see that it's got a nice little bend to it. So we still got to tear this thing the rest of the way apart, but I would say current indicators are saying that it probably failed a connecting rod. Dad thinks that it probably got short enough that it probably sucked the piston down into the counterweights, and that's what caused the extreme amount of piston debris. But we'll have to keep tearing this apart and see if we can find anything else. You know you blew it up good when you got bits of pistons on your wheels. Yikes. Something that is always nerve-wracking when you have an engine failure is, will you be able to get your torque converter bolts out? A lot of times the engine is locked up, and in order to get the bolts out, you gotta be able to roll the engine over. Luckily, with our failure, it wasn't bad enough that the engine was completely locked up, but as I rolled the engine over, I noticed that there were more and more chunks coming out of the hole in the side of the oil pan.
Is it raining parts?
Yep. Look, it's a piston. All right. So this piece goes here. We can almost weld this thing back together.
If it was a rod brake, it'd be up higher. Oh, look at how bent number 6 is, or 5 is.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, it's into the counterweight. Definitely not a head gasket. That's a killer head gasket. These rods are moving really freely on this crank throw, so I don't think we had a bearing issue. If you run the engine low on oil, what will happen is the bearings here will start to seize onto the crank, and then, you know, the engine wants to keep running and it'll start bending and breaking stuff, but the fact that these move so freely tells me that we don't have a bearing issue. I think we just overpowered the connecting rods here, but you'll see in a second what I mean. If you look at the bearing here, you can see that, yeah, it's had some stuff go through it, but overall, it's in pretty decent shape. So, now we can pull out the ugly one. Yeah, so this is the side of the bearing that typically gets the most wear, just because the engine is pushing down on the connecting rod more heavily than it's, you know, pulling up. So you can see there's a little bit of copper showing. I assume that's copper. I assume this is a multi-layer bearing, but our pin still floats. But yeah, that's pretty ugly. Nice little whoop-de-doo on that guy. Oops. Alright, here is what is left of rod number 4. Another thing to note here is that our bearings have not lost tension. They're still set inside of the rod. Very good. You know, sometimes when they get hot, they'll actually get stuck to the crank and they don't sit into the bearing cap as nicely. The fact that both the bottom and top bearings are sitting so nicely in there is nice. Now, one thing I really like about these Nissan engines is they really thought about like service, and they have like dowel pins here in the rod, and you can't put it on the wrong way. It physically will not go together. You can only put it together the correct way, which is nice because, you know, sometimes you get a little haphazard with stuff and you forget which way it went. All right, moving on. All right, next up we have rod number 8. And if you look at this guy, we have a nice little whoop-de-doo in that guy too. And if I move the rings around in the grooves, they move pretty freely. So I don't think it was a ring gap issue. That was something that somebody brought up, that it could possibly have been a ring issue where these rings grew together and basically got this thing stuck in the bore, and when the crank was trying to pull the rod down, it just yanked the piston apart. I don't think that's what happened because these move around so freely. We're going to look at all of the other pistons and just make sure that none of them show signs of that. Also, if we look at our rings, they don't appear to have lost tension either. Sometimes if you get rings real hot, this gap will be like real tight here. And you can see there's still a pretty healthy gap here when it's just sitting there free. So I don't think we were overheating our piston. Nothing shows any signs of indication of that, but we definitely have a bent rod here, and this was probably getting ready to fail as well. Okay. All right, next up, number 1. Apologize for doing these out of order, guys. I just wanted to show you the carnage first. But I fully suspect that we're going to see a little bit more carnage as we move on here. Yeah, I mean, overall, these bearings, they're a little ugly, but like, I don't know, I'd run them again. Alright, number 1 looks like it's had some damage from, you know, some piston that was flying around. You can see the piston Has a little chunk taken out of it here. That is likely from debris from the other pistons. If we feel the rings on this guy, again, they feel really loose. Still has good tension in the ring. And bearing looks fine to me. Alright. Number 2 has a bunch of debris on top of the piston. And it does look like it crunched one of the ring lands here, but that was from debris. You can see right here, it's all marred up on the top, but you know, actually the ring still moves freely in there, but you can see it is a little crunched. The rod looks straight. Yeah, other than a bunch of debris. And bottom of the piston looks like it got hit as well. You can see some ugliness down there. Alright, let's move on. 5 and 6. Alright, number 6. Looks like the rod is straight. Bearing looks fine. But number 5, you guys are going to want to see this. There. Yeah, there's a winner right there. This one is bent real good. So bad that it was hitting the counterweight on the crankshaft, which is why I had to take out number 6. So number 5, pretty jacked up as well. Alright, 1 to go. Alright, last one is number 7. Doesn't appear to be bent. Bearings look fine. Rings look fine. Yeah. This guy's doing just fine. Alright, so last but not least, we have the crankshaft. Alright, so as I rotate this crankshaft over, I feel a hard spot, but I think it's from right here. This part got mushroomed out just from debris going through the engine, and you can see that it's kind of hitting on the main cap here. You could probably just sand this off, and other than that, I think the crankshaft is fine. So we could probably pull this thing out, clean it. It feels fine as I roll it over as far as like straightness goes. I could probably put a dial indicator on it if, you know, if we wanted to just double check. But I think the crankshaft is fine. I really like these Nissan crankshafts. They have the center counterweight, if you guys missed the video that we did on that. Most V8s, crossplane V8s that is, don't have this counterweight in the center. You only see that on some of the higher end stuff. I know GM has started to put it on some of their LT engines, but it's only on like the 6.6 liter, the L8T and, you know, stuff like that. So the fact that this, you know, random 5.6 liter truck engine has these two counterweights here, it's pretty impressive to me. You can tell that Nissan went to a lot of extra expense to really make this thing easy to service. And, you know, they built a robust platform. Sure, it doesn't hold quite as much power as the LS does, but that's due to the connecting rod. I think we will find that we're going to be able to use a lot more of the factory components when we begin to upgrade this and shoot for more horsepower, which I think is where this engine really shines. So I'm excited to get these guys replaced. As you can see, these suckers are pretty tore up. But yeah, overall, we did a lot of damage. I mean, over here, we have all the chunks of piston from the engine. Man, this did a lot of damage. So let's wrap this video up, and I'll kind of give you guys my opinion on what I think happened. All Alright guys, now that we've wrapped up tearing down the VK56 from the Fairmont, I want to kind of give you guys my opinion. What I think happened is we just overpowered the connecting rods. I don't see any signs of head gasket failure. I don't really see any signs of a piston that was starting to come apart on any of the pistons that are still intact. And after repeated abuse where the thing, hooked up and spun, I think we really just were jackhammering the crap out of the rods in this engine. It went from this state of extreme load to basically no load. I found it funny. I was listening to a podcast with Jimmy Taylor, and he talked about how spinning actually can do a lot of damage in your cars. He's had all kinds of things in the car fail, such as connecting rods, when the car was loaded up and, suddenly spun really bad. Now, could you push a stock bottom end further than what we did? It's possible. I think there's still a little bit of room on the factory connecting rod, but not a ton. If we had put this into a car that didn't spin as violently as what this thing did, maybe it would have lasted a little bit longer, but that's not where we're going to go with this project. Based on what I see, the pistons are holding up just fine in this engine, but the connecting rods could use a little help, and that's kind of what I told you guys when we started this project. I told you that the connecting rods would likely be the failure point, and I think that's where we're at. So in the future, what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade the connecting rods and most likely leave the factory pistons. We're going to continue to develop this platform on this VK56, and we also have another exciting project that we will be starting very soon. So look forward to that. With that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you enjoyed today's video, go watch our Sick Week coverage where you could see all of this mess develop. And make sure you share the videos with a friend, go buy a t-shirt, and hit the hype button. We'll see you guys in the next one.